You are listening to a cassette recording of a channeling session from the Raw Contact, a series of 106 sessions that were conducted between 1981 and 1984, using a form of tuned trance telepathy. Throughout these sessions, a group of entities identified as Ra shared information regarding the Law of One, spiritual evolution, and a variety of esoteric topics through a series of questions and answers. The full text transcript of these recorded sessions can be read for free at lnlresearch.org, where you can also learn more about this audio and its origins. This recording is intended for personal study and is not available for commercial use. Please contact LNL Research if you wish to use this audio in any other way.
Raw 40, March 18th.
The infinite creator. We communicate now.
I thought that I would make a statement and let you correct it. I'm trying to make a simple model of the portion of the universe that we find ourselves in. Starting with the logos, or sub-logos, our sun. We have white light emanating from this. This is made up of frequencies ranging from the red to the violet. I am assuming that this white light, this then contains the experiences through all of the densities. And as we go into the 8th density, we go into a black hole which emerges on the other side as another logos or sun and starts another octave of experience. Can you comment on this part of my statement?
I am Ra. We can comment upon this statement to an extent. The concept of the white light of the sub-logos being prismatically separated and later at the final chapter being absorbed again is basically correct. However, there are subtleties involved which are more than semantic. The white light which emanates and forms the articulated sub-logos has its beginning in what may be metaphysically seen as darkness, the light comes into that darkness and transfigures it, causing the chaos to organize and become reflective or radiant. Thus, the dimensions come into being. Conversely, the blackness of the black hole, metaphysically speaking, is a concentration of white light being systematically absorbed once again into the one Creator. Finally, this absorption into the one Creator continues until all the infinity of creations have attained sufficient spiritual mass in order that all form once again the great central sun, if you would so imagine it, of the intelligent infinity awaiting potentiation by free will. Thus, the transition of the octave is a process which may be seen to enter into timelessness of unimaginable nature, to attempt to measure it by your time measures would be useless. Therefore, the concept of moving through the a black hole of the ultimate spiritual gravity well, and coming immediately into the next octave misses the sub-concept or corollary of the portion of this process which is timeless.
Our astronomers have noticed that the light from spiral galaxies is approximately 7 times less than that it should be from their calculations of what their mass should be. I was just wondering if that was due to the increase of spiritual mass in the galaxy and what we call white dwarf stars.
I am Ra. This is basically correct and is a portion of the way or process of creation's cycle.
Thank you. I was also wondering if the first density corresponded somehow to the color red, the second to the color orange, the third to the color yellow, so on through the densities corresponding to the colors in perhaps a way so that the basic vibration that forms the photon, that forms the core of all atomic particles, would have a relationship to that color in the density, and that the vibration would step up for second, third, fourth density, corresponding to the increased in vibration for the colors. Is this in any way correct?
I am Ra. This is more correct than you have stated. Firstly, you are correct in positing a quantum, if you will, as the nature of each density, and further correct in assuming that these quanta may be seen to be of vibratory natures corresponding to color as you grasp this word. However, it is also true as you have suspected but not asked, that each density is of the metaphysical characteristic complex of its ray. Thus, in first density, the red ray is the foundation for all that is to come. In a second density, the orange ray is that of a movement and growth of the individual. This ray striving towards the yellow ray of a self-conscious manifestations of a social nature as well as individual. Third density, being the equivalent, and so forth. Each density being primarily its ray plus the attractions of the following ray, pulling it forward in evolution and to some extent a coloring or shading the chief color of that density.
Then the bodily energy centers for an individual would be, assuming that the individual evolves straight line from first through to 8th density, would each of these energy centers or chakras be activated to completion if everything worked as it should? Would each be activated to completion and greatest intensity by the end of the experience in each density?
I am Ra. hypothetically speaking, this is correct. However, the fully activated being is rare. Much emphasis is laid upon the harmonies and balances of individuals. It is necessary for a graduation across densities for the primary energy centers to be functioning in such a way as to communicate with intelligent infinity and to appreciate and bask in this light in all of its purity. However, to fully activate each energy center is the mastery of few. For each center has a variable speed of rotation or activity. The important observation to be made once all necessary centers are activated to the minimal necessary degree is the harmony and balance between these energy centers.
Thank you. Taking as an example the transition between second and third density. When this transition takes place, does the frequency of vibration, which forms the photon, the core of all particles of the density, does this frequency increase from a frequency corresponding to second density or orange, the color orange, the frequency we measure for the color orange to the frequency we measure for the color yellow? What I'm getting at is, do all the vibrations that form the density, basic vibrations of the photon, increase in a quantum fashion over a relatively short period of time?
this is correct, then you see within each density the gradual upgrading of vibratory levels.
This is a guess, would the frequency going from second to third increase from the middle orange frequency or average orange frequency to the middle yellow frequency or average yellow frequency?
I am Ra. This query is indeterminate. We shall attempt to be of aid. However, the frequency that is the basis of each density is what may be called a true color. This term is impossible to define given your system of sensibilities and scientific measurements. For color has a vibratory characteristics both in space-time and in time-space. The true color is then overlaid and tinged by the rainbow of the various vibratory levels within that density, and the attraction vibrations of the next true color density.
How long was the time of transition on this planet between second and third density? Generation and a half, I believe. Is that correct?
I am Ra. This is correct. The time measured in your years being approximately 1,300 150.
Then what will be the time of transition on this planet from third to fourth density?
I am Ra. This is difficult to estimate due to the uncharacteristic anomalies of this transition. There are at this space-time nexus beings incarnate which have begun fourth density work. However, the third density climate of planetary consciousness is retarding the process. At this particular nexus, the possibility, probability, vortices indicate somewhere between 100 and 700 of your years as transition period. This cannot be accurate due to the volatility of your peoples at this space-time.
Has the vibration of the basic, of the photon, of all our particles, increased in frequency already?
I am Ra. This is correct. It is this influence which has begun to cause thoughts to become things. As an example, you may observe the thoughts of anger becoming those cells of the physical bodily complex going out of control to become what you call the cancer.
What assuming this vibration started increasing about between 20 and 30 years ago. Is this correct?
I am Ra. The first harbingers of this were approximately 45 of your years ago. The energies vibrating more intensely through the 40-year period preceding the final movement of vibratory matter, shall we say, through the quantum leap, as you would call it.
Starting then 45 years ago and taking the entire increase in vibration that we will experience in this density change, approximately what percentage of the way through this increase of vibration are we right now?
I am Ra. The vibratory nature of your environment is the true color, a green. This is at this time heavily overwoven with the orange ray of planetary consciousness. However, the nature of quanta is such that the movement over the boundary is that of discrete placement of vibratory level.
You mentioned that thoughts of anger now are causing cancer. Can you expand on this mechanism as it acts as a catalyst or its complete purpose?
I am Ra. The fourth density is one of revealed information. Selves are not hidden to self or other selves. The imbalances or distortions which are of a destructive nature. Show, therefore, in more obvious ways the vehicle of the mind, body, spirit complex, thus acting as a teaching resource for self-revelation. These illnesses, such as cancer, are correspondingly very amenable to self-healing once the mechanism of the destructive influence has been grasped by the individual.
Then you're saying that cancer is quite easily healed mentally and is a good teaching tool because it is quite easily healed mentally, and once the entity forgives the other self at whom he is angry, cancer will disappear. Is this correct?
I am Ra. This is partially correct. The other portion of healing has to do with forgiveness of self and a greatly heightened respect for the self. This may conveniently be expressed by taking care in dietary matters. This is quite frequently a part of the healing and forgiving process. Your basic premise is correct.
In dietary matters, what would be the foods that one would include, and what would be the foods that one would exclude in a general way for the most or the greatest care of one's bodily complex?
I am Ra. Firstly, we underline and emphasize that this information is not to to be understood literally, but as a link or psychological nudge for the body and the mind and spirit. Thus, it is a true thing of importance. In this light, we may iterate the basic information given for this instrument's diet. The vegetables, the fruits, the grains, and to the extent necessary for the individual metabolism, the animal products. These are those substances showing respect for the self. In addition, though this has not been mentioned, for this instrument is not in need of purification. Those entities in need of purging the self of a poison thought form or emotion complex do well to take care in following a program of careful fasting until the destructive thought form has been purged analogously with the byproducts of ridding the physical vehicle of excess material. Again, you see the value not to the body complex, but used as a link for the mind and spirit. Thus, self reveals self to self.
Thank you. A very important concept. Does the fact that basic vibration that we experience now is green, true color or fourth density account for the fact that there are many mental effects on material objects that are now observable for the first time in a mass way, like the bending of metal by mind.
I am Ra. This shall be the final query in toto of this working. This is not only correct, but we suggest you take this concept further and understand the great number of entities with the so-called mental diseases being due to the effect of this green ray true color upon the mental configurations of those unready mentally to face the self for the first time. Are there any brief queries before we close?
Just two. With respect to what you just said, would then people incarnating here by seniority of vibration who incarnate for the service to self path be ones who would have extreme difficulty mentally with this green ray vibration?
I am Ra. This is incorrect. It is rather the numbers who have distracted themselves and failed to prepare for this transition, yet who are somewhat susceptible to its influence, who may be affected.
Thank you. And I'll just ask if there's anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact.
This instrument is well. You are conscientious. The appurtenances cause this instrument a greater comfort in the distortion of the warmth of the body complex. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.
All right.
Hmm?
Are you done?
Okay.